the information for Regen. It's also on our website up in the right corner. If you click on that, it'll get you connected to them. But these are the 3 tests that we recommend. The Haney for one, the total nutrient digestion analysis. That's the one that I call the treasure chest. And Emily, who is one of the scientists there, had told me people actually call and say, hey, I want that treasure chest test. So she said maybe she'll change it for us, who knows. And then the PLFA analysis is your microbial health test.
Okay.
So it gives you an idea, where you are now, where you're going, where, and then the next one will show you, okay, what have you increased over the last one? But carbon is the key. Carbon is feeding microbes and will help to increase that those levels.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out.
So we're going to go through some trial data on our products here, but what I wanted to share with you is we got put into a Bayer research plot, and so that's third party. They don't care who we are; they just put it in and give us results. But what I've done is I've added the results to each product, so I'll kind of show you as we go through the product and then how it did in the research. But this was the full that we got. It was the check. Was a 200 pounds with a spray, the application of Delaro Complete for fungicide. The Explode Pro, NGen, Stimi Pro, and Leaf Saver were all tested in here. So we'll go through these products. And this was on corn. In some of our results and some of our pictures, and like in Kansas, we're working guys with wheat and whatnot. So we haven't seen a difference in like product, corn versus wheat versus we see responses in all plants.
Okay.
The only thing we're trying not to do is to get, say a soybean too much nitrogen up front so that it doesn't get lazy. We can hit it later during, pod fill and whatnot. So NGen, this is the one. I know you've mentioned something about some organic guys, but NGen is our nitrogen generating product. Simple name, NGen, nitrogen generating. But what that is a group of microbes, and their job is to pull atmospheric nitrogen into the plant. So what we're seeing with this is over the course of 30 to 45 days after application, we're getting a steady pull of nitrogen into the plant, and then those start to tip a little bit after that rate. Now, you can hit it once if you want it. You can hit it multiple times. So after 30, 45 days, you can reapply for another continual pull. It just all depends on how you want to use it. There is a seed treatment, which you talked about. There is ability to use it in furrow, a 16 ounce per acre rate, or foliar at a 16 ounce per acre rate. And this one is OMRI approved. So this can be used with your organic guys. So the one thing I want to share with you initially is I know there's another company out there that you open the lid and it's dead within 24 hours. What we've done is fed the microbes. So these microbes are being fed constantly. So whether they're in the jug, in the tote, you open that up and maybe you don't use it all. As long as it doesn't freeze, the shelf life on this is well over a year because there's food for them. Microbes eat carbon. So they're of carbon in there. There's long chain with humic, there's short chain with sugars, but everything in between allows them to have a long shelf life. The one thing we've seen is the seed treatment. We had a company that uses the seed treatment on their seed. They came back a year later, sent it to the lab, and asked them to see what was on there, and the lab tech returned it and said, I don't know what's on there, but that is alive. So even on the seed treatment, there's a long shelf life. But we've seen you can, depending on your situation, use it to reduce nitrogen. But the thing you're going to get with it is microbial activity, plant health, heat and drought stress, whatnot. What I did on my own field this year, because guys wanted to see, what are you getting? What are you showing for nitrogen pull? I took my field to deficient, and not at the recommendation of my agronomist. He was not happy with me, but once I told him what I was doing, then he understood. But it took to, what is that, July 16th? July 12th when I took the test. Took the test, and then the next day I sprayed NGen, had it applied. So and this one, we're at V10. We showed it deficient, 2.26% nitrogen in the plant. So what I did, I sprayed the next day, and then a week later, I took another test. You can see we increased to 2.86%, and we're up in the sufficient range. By then, we're right at tassel. So the plant had also grown. So a larger plant had a higher nitrogen value percentage in the plant. 1 week later, took another test. Again, we increased the nitrogen value percentage, still into sufficient range. And then again, another week later, we increased it again. So it's 3.07% nitrogen, still sufficient. So, and that's over the course of a month. And so, depending on what you're looking to use it for, most guys can reduce their nitrogen with it 60 pounds. And that's what they've done in this test that we're showing.
And I take tissue samples on everything.
Okay.
About once a week. I do, well, I mean, I do particular fields every other week, but I'm out, 2-3 times a day, or days a week, every week during the growing season. And you don't see that. And you usually see, it just going down right at tassel. And after that, it doesn't increase. Very rarely. I've seen it increase.
If that's what you're seeing in your area, then that might be a great time. If you hit something in that V10 stage where it's really wanting to put its energy into the ear, and it can make the rest of the plant suffer. Well, if your foliage is suffering and dying off, that's your solar panels. And so if your leaf tissue is not as healthy as it can be, and it's not able to pull in as much sun, your ear and crop is going to suffer. So that might be a great time to dose it in your area.
Yep.
So the next one I want to show you here, these are the results of the trial. So in this case, they put 200 pounds nitrogen out, and they added a dose of NGen. So the cost difference, that's what that is. It's like it's under $20 a dose. It's like $19.50 or something like that for a single dose. But it did increase over the check yield. And then the other thing that we add with our products is StimuPro. So StimuPro, it acts like a PGR, but it's not a PGR. But what it does is it boosts roots. So if the roots are, especially planting and whatnot, again, we go back to the plants being lazy. If we can boost those and keep them growing in the opposite direction of the sun, by the end of the season, you're going to start benefiting. So that's also thrown in here. That at an 8-ounce rate is like $7 an acre. But what we're recommending guys doing is anytime they're spraying, using a 4-ounce rate. So it's like $3 roughly an acre. But it's just enough to goose the plant, rather than it just hold steady and not stimulating those roots. So the next test we showed, they pulled 60 pounds out of their nitrogen. So the check was 200 pounds. They pulled 60 pounds out of the NGen dose, reduced our inputs, and increased our yield. So our ROI increases. And that is where we saw the StimuPro really start to kick into. When it's less dependent on a synthetic fertilizer, and because the plant is being supplied nitrogen through its tissues, it's feeding itself. Again, here on the 115 day, still saw results. So this is the program that I'd use on my farm. I reduced my nitrogen by 120 pounds, and I dose it twice. And then sometimes I'll even dose it a third time, depending on the season. But this is where I'm running at on mine. So it goosed the yield, But the main thing we want guys to see is that your inputs have dropped as well. So again, your ROI is where it's at. If we can't increase your soil health, your plant health, and your ROI, then we're not helping you out. So nitrogen as the engine is the only source, and this is what the organic guys want to see, because I don't know, we got limited up here with chicken and turkey litter this year because of the bird flu. So guys were freaking out. I mean, it was definitely a hard year for them, but this is what they want to see as the only nitrogen source. You reduce that down under $80 an acre. So this was in furrow, 16 ounces. And then at post herbicide was the first application, and then every 30 days from there. And there's lots of times that my last dose will be September 1st, because I want to get through black layer, not to black layer. If that plant can die naturally, rather than dying from being fed or lack of food, it's less likely to pull the energy out of the ear. So we're seeing increased test weights, from that perspective anyway. Hybrid 85, this is the company it's a seed company out of Omaha, and they've been putting their seed treatment on since 2023. And they're seeing a 10.1 bushel advantage with it treated versus the non-treated with engine. So they see a definite advantage. And this was the one they came back and said that after a year of it being on seed, the lab said, oh yeah, that stuff's so good. So.